All right, let's kick things off with a little puzzle. And this one, well, it seems to pull from two completely different universes.
Okay, so what do a Wall Street analyst and a UCB comedian have in common? I mean, on the surface, you'd say absolutely nothing, right? One's all about spreadsheets and risk assessment, the other, improv and punchlines. But today, we're going to see how these two very different identities can actually merge to create this really powerful new kind of professional.
So let's look at one side of the coin. This is the world of high finance. We're talking analytical, data-driven, super structured. Picture this. 7 years as a high-yield credit research analyst at Goldman Sachs. You're living deep inside the numbers, publishing over 400 research reports. That's some serious, heavy-duty analysis. And then you flip the coin, and you've got the world of creative media. This is improvised, it's collaborative, and it's all about the audience. And listen, this isn't just some weekend hobby. We're talking about writing, producing, and performing at the legendary Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York. You know, UCB? Even appearing on the Colbert Report, a totally different skill set.
So here's the kicker. The answer? They're the same person, a guy named Justin Purnell. And his story, it's just a perfect case study in what we're going to call the hybrid professional. And the core idea here is that these seemingly opposite skills, they don't just coexist. Nope. They actually multiply each other's effectiveness. It's like 1 + 1 = 3.
Okay, so two worlds, one resume. Let's dig into this. I mean, how do you even begin to break down such an unusual combination of career paths? How do you put these two completely different experiences on the same piece of paper?
Well, when you see the credentials side by side like this, wow. It really hammers home the contrast, doesn't it? I mean, look at the left column. It's pure Ivy League finance. Princeton for econ, a Dartmouth MBA, and that high-stakes gig at Goldman. Then you look at the right, and it's basically a highlight reel from the heart of the New York comedy scene. It's just a fascinating split.
And here's the really crucial point. This isn't a story about someone leaving one world for another. Not at all. It's about how he started to consciously combine them. He realized there was real value in the structure of finance and in the creative, think-on-your-feet problem-solving of comedy. And he started weaving them together. So, the big question is, how does a background like this actually translate into a unique advantage in the real world? Let's take a look at a real-world business problem where, the standard playbook just wasn't cutting it. All right, so set the scene. We're at NBC Universal. The project is a brand new digital marketplace for the golf industry. Sounds cool, right? But there was a huge problem. The entire project had ground to a halt because of this massive technical bottleneck, and it was completely stumping the team. And to give you a real sense of how bad this was, it took 4 months and cost $20,000 in development just to get one single brand on board. Think about that. That's not a business model. That's a brick wall. The entire project was seriously at risk of failing before it ever saw the light of day. And this is where that synthesis just shines. The analyst side of him, he led workshops to systematically diagnose the pain points. But the creative producer side, that's what conceived of this elegant, totally out-of-the-box solution, a piece of software called middleware. And then, and this is the best part, when resources were tight and there were no developers available, the get-it-done performer in him just taught himself to code and built the prototype himself. That's strategic analysis meeting raw, hands-on execution. So let's just go back to that roadblock for a second. Remember, the original process took 4 long months for one vendor. It was just completely, totally unsustainable. And with his hybrid solution, he slashed that time down to just 2 weeks. And get this, in some cases, vendors were up and running in less than a day. The jump in efficiency was just astronomical. So what was the business impact? Well, it was immediate and it was dramatic. They had projected, pretty modestly, to launch with maybe 3 brands. Instead, thanks to this new solution, the project launched with 29 brands fully integrated on day 1. That's almost 10 times their original goal. Just incredible. Okay, so you might be thinking, was this just a lucky one-off success? And the answer is not at all. This way of thinking, this mindset, it's actually a repeatable framework for innovation. It's not some kind of magic trick, it's a real method. Let's take his approach to evaluating Google Glass, for example. It kicks off with that creative, blue sky brainstorming, that yes and mindset from the improv world. But then it quickly pivots to rigorous financial analysis. That's the Wall Street analyst kicking in. quantifying the effort, prioritizing for efficiency. And what you get is a process that turns this infinite canvas of what-ifs into a practical, actionable menu that you can actually present to leadership. And this hybrid approach, you can actually codify it into a structured process. This diagram here, it shows a full product management lifecycle. See how it moves logically from the ideate phase on the left, taking in all the analytics and what stakeholders need, all the way through execution and evangelize on the right. It's about giving a clear structure to what can often be a really chaotic process. And you see the same kind of thinking when it comes to prioritization. This framework here, it's all about turning those big, lofty goals into concrete tactics you can actually do. It starts by identifying your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and then it defines specific actions based on those metrics. What that does is it ensures every single bit of work is directly tied to a strategic objective. It's like creativity, but with guardrails to keep it on track.
But you have to wonder, what drives someone to even think about combining such different fields in the first place? Well, the answer might just lie in a core personality type.
So an Enneagram personality test, which is all about mapping out our core motivations, gives us another pretty big clue. It reveals a really clear dominant type, and as you can see from the scores here, it's type 8, the challenger. And this profile is just fascinating. It describes these natural leaders who are super action-oriented, and, well, they see possibilities where other people just see roadblocks. And that last line from the description is just perfect. It says they can take a useless, broken-down shell and turn it into something beautiful. I mean, isn't that an exact description of someone who, when they're told, sorry, no developers, just decides, fine, I'll build it myself? And really, that's the big takeaway here. The most powerful innovations, they often don't come from being the absolute best at just one thing. They come from the intersection of skills that, on the surface, don't seem to belong together at all. The analyst and the artist, the strategist and the builder. So the final question isn't really about this case study. It's for you. What two worlds could you combine in your own career to create your own professional superpower?